Hey everybody, welcome back. I've got some kind of a mix of great and terrifying clips for you today. So let's dive in, and I will see you on the other side.
How many of you were supporting Joe Biden 14 days ago? Raise your hands. None of you. How many of you, if the election were held today, would vote for the Democratic nominee, Kamala Harris?
I would.
Okay, that's all of you.
None of you to all of you. And Frank Luntz is with us now. Frank, so thank you so much for being with us. Let me just ask you, if the election were held today, who would win?
She would win. And I want to emphasize, it's not just about momentum. And I thought your commentary just before this was dead on. It's also about passion. It's about commitment. And Harris voters are even more eager to vote for her than Donald Trump voters are to him. We've not seen that in an entire campaign. Call that intensity. And her campaign is generating the intensity. And another key component is exactly why this is happening. She's talking and emphasizing her persona, her attributes, her character traits. And that's where Donald Trump has been commenting. And the fact is, the American people do not want to hear the same kind of negativity, the same kind of attacks that he's been delivering. His strength is on issues, most particularly the two issues that matter most, inflation and immigration. But instead of speaking about those two issues and talking about the failures of the Biden administration, he's been making these personal attacks, and it's frankly turning the voters off that he needs to reach. Now,
Yes, passion, all for it. It's great. That's why I think I said this maybe a week in that I didn't believe that it was a honeymoon. I believe that this is just the way the Harris campaign and now the Harris-Walz campaign will be until the election. Why wouldn't it be? They seem genuinely energized and enthusiastic and hopeful. Like that's why would that change? We know what we're fighting for and against. Why would democratic enthusiasms diminish over what is in the context of American elections a very short period of time? I mean, it's still an absurdly long period of time in the context of how the rest of the world holds elections, but we're in 85 days out. No reason at all. I do find it not sure what the word is. It's not befuddling. I mean, I understand it. I just made myself sound like a 95-year-old man. Befuddling. I don't think I've ever said that word out loud in my life. I'm not entirely sure why I just used it now. But there's nothing mystifying about why a group of people said they wouldn't support Biden, but now they support Harris. But that's revelatory. Because my question is, why? Why? Is it literally just that one thing? Passion? The policies Vice President Harris embraces and espouses will likely be very similar to the policies of the administration she works in right now. We have yet to see if how much daylight there will be between her and President Biden on the issue of the war in Gaza. But we know she's for a ceasefire. We know that she has no interest in hearing anything Netanyahu had to say, right? So, some daylight there. But other than that, in what way are her policies, at least right now, going to be substantively different from President Biden's? So I guess what I'm getting at is the idea that people would not have voted for Democrats at all simply because Joe Biden wasn't I don't know, exciting enough for them, even though he's been holding American democracy together with glue and string for 4 years. He's the one who grabbed democracy from the jaws of autocracy in 2020. He's the one who's got us out of the disaster of COVID and the threat of economic collapse. I mean, just because he's not a great public speaker? Yeah, because Donald is. I mean, come on. That's a long-term project. And I have to tell you, that's one of the reasons I was so relieved when I heard that Kamala Harris was going to be the nominee for the Democrats, because we are so, I don't know if it's superficial. I don't know if it's that we need instant gratification. I don't know what it is. But I'm really glad we don't have to deal with it right now, because we just need to win this fucking thing. Oh, and also Donald's 2 issues are inflation and immigration. Let's start with immigration. He was worse on immigration than, well, yeah, it also depends on your politics, doesn't it? From my perspective, I thought Obama was terrible in immigration. From Republicans' perspective, however, if they're being honest, they probably liked what he did on immigration. Same thing with the Biden administration. Border crossings are way down. I was, quite frankly, appalled by the bipartisan immigration bill that never saw the light of day, because Donald Trump didn't want a win for anybody on immigration, because he wanted to keep it a campaign issue for himself, because he's a selfish, cruel person. I'll say person. So that's just nonsense. I mean, I guess what Frank Luntz means is that people like it. People of a certain kind like it when Donald just goes off on immigrants and calls them vermin like he's a Nazi or something. Oh, yeah, he is a Nazi. Then there's inflation. Presidents do not have any control over inflation, first of all. Secondly, I mean, they can do things to help bring prices down, for sure, as Vice President Harris has pledged to do. She will go after one of the major drivers of inflation that is separate and apart from just, the complex global economic reasons inflation occurs, because again, it's a global phenomenon. But then there are just high prices caused by other things, like, oh, I don't know, price gouging and corporate greed. So yeah, inflation's been bad, but what the hell is Donald Trump going to do about inflation? And by the way, inflation in this country is lower than it is in any other developed country on the planet. So that's absurd on its face. So a lot in there in that little clip, but let's put it this way. If the deal breaker for people is passion, we have all of it. Before we get to the next clip, I have a favor for you. We are on a roll here at Mary Trump Media, but we want the roll to be faster. So we'd really appreciate it if you haven't already to click the subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything. It just means you'll be alerted anytime we drop new videos, which is daily. We really, really want to increase our subscribership, which increases our reach. And it would be amazing if we could get to 100,000 subscribers this week. And you could be the person who makes that happen. So thank you.
Let's say with the 5, we have millions of viewers. A lot of them don't like Trump, and a lot of them are Democrats.
We have millions of viewers. A lot of them don't like Donald, and a lot of them are Democrats. It means they have millions of viewers, Donald, who hate you. So thanks for sharing. In response to hearing his name. Oh, should I start that again? Sorry. It's literally like a Pavlovian response to hearing his name. You know, if somebody's saying his name, then it must be good. You know, at the beginning of this fucking nightmare, um, as you may have noticed, Donald and I have the same last name. And to those of you who say that I use his name, it's my name. It's my name. It's my dad's name, and I got it from him. So, I mean, that's a weird argument. So it took me like months because TV's on. Trump. What? What? So I had to learn. I mean, like, who the hell would be saying my name on TV, right? But you hear your name. Like, you could be in a crowd and somebody says your first name, and you look around because you think it's you, and of course they're talking to somebody else who has the same first name. Sometimes. So, like, I'm at the point now where I know when somebody's referring to him, usually because it's said with such contempt. But anyway, pro tip if ever somebody who has the same last name as you and is almost universally reviled on how to separate things out.
Don't forget, under Trump bans, no tax on tips, baby. Go to DonaldJTrump.com. Go get the stickers, no tax on tips, and help me make America great again. Thanks.
Who are you? All right. As you may have heard, Vice President Harris was endorsed by I think the largest labor union in Nevada, the culinary. Please forgive me if I'm not getting this right, but the culinary workers union. It's a huge deal. And she, at her latest rally, also talked about this whole not taxing tips issue, which has been approved of by that union, which knows about this shit because their workers are people who work in the culinary industry, which includes food service workers of all kinds, including waiters, presumably. Here's the thing, though. Donald's proposal means tips as in commissions. So hedge fund managers who routinely make millions and tens of millions and hundreds of millions and billions of dollars can claim that their commissions are are tips. And it's those that aren't going to get taxed. So instead of sitting at some folksy little cafe where the people waiting on her probably make minimum wage, if that, and have to count on tips, she should have been sitting on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. It's so lovely to know that Donald has an endless supply of hypocritical grifters willing to do his dirty work for him. At this point, I think there's only one way to make America great, and it's not again, you idiots. Just get rid of them, please. Please. That's all.
But they're only 3 weeks into this campaign. It's been an extraordinary 3 weeks. She's been sharpening her message, drawing massive crowds at these rallies, and really focused on this broad, forward-looking message about the fight for the future. But Diane, the question moving forward is she's going to have to eventually get into some of these nittier, grittier policy details, which could divide this currently unified base as they debate over the policy proposals. But for now, clearly, this momentum is behind her. And these massive crowds she's she's getting are clearly getting under Donald Trump's skin. He's been pushing this false conspiracy theory that she is using artificial intelligence to create fake images of the crowd. That, of course, is false. I've been at these rallies. They are drawing thousands of people, and it is a kind of new momentum that the Democratic Party has not seen in years. And so you've seen Trump really struggle to pivot his campaign to try and go after her and focus on the core issues like the economy and immigration. Instead, he's been going after her identity and issues like these crowd sizes, which many Republicans do not want him to do. Even voters I've spoken to are supporters of his, say that Trump should be focused on the issues like the economy and immigration.
Okay. What the fuck with immigration? Like, what is this obsession with immigration? And also, but like, those are the only two issues facing us? Like, not climate change, not, I don't know, civil rights or voting right, all these things the Republicans are trying to destroy or ignore, like climate change. So, our time on this earth is limited because we're just not going to do anything about the one crisis that actually threatens all of us. There's literally nothing else to talk about, the economy and immigration. If Donald Trump wants to make the economy the cornerstone of his campaign, then he'll have to lie a lot. Like that. I mean, who's telling him that that's a win for him? I mean, he may as well center his campaign around how great he was at upholding and defending the Constitution. It's just like, and again, immigration. In my view, both parties are terrible in immigration. Like, have we ever tried maybe, I don't know, treating immigrants who come to this country like human beings and maybe acknowledge the fact that this is a country of immigrants? Maybe we could do that. Maybe we could have people who come over under the most horrific conditions, who are fleeing their homes because their lives and their children's lives were in danger, and they came here seeking asylum, which, by the way, is not against the fucking law. And they get treated like criminals. Have we ever thought maybe, let's change the system so people coming here seeking asylum or a better life, like my grandmother did when she came over from Scotland in the 1920s. Have we ever thought, let's maybe give them jobs and help make it easier for them to become productive members of our society who have a path to citizenship, because we know that immigrants take jobs that Americans won't do, and they do them with the kind of expertise most of us can only dream of. And we also know that immigrants have much lower crime rates than the rest of us. Like, have we ever thought of trying that? Maybe, that would make America better. But no, it has to be about mass deportation. There are literally signs at Donald's rallies that say mass deportation, held high in the air by smiling white women who are full of hate and profess to be Christian. Can we at least get that one right? Maybe? But no, that's one of Donald Trump's strongest issues in this campaign. And yet, his hatred for the black woman is at least temporarily overshadowing his hatred of immigrants. Except, of course, the immigrants who, I don't know, gave birth to him and gave birth to his children. Through the looking glass. Just in case you were wondering, that is a still shot of James Comer, a representative in the House of Representatives, speaking to Trey Gowdy on his show about Vice President Harris's incompetence as the border czar. Okay, first of all, there's no such thing as a border czar. I know you guys don't care about facts, but the fact is there is no such thing as a border czar. So there's that. Also, you might want to look at the numbers. Border crossings are down, and I personally don't think making expensive, performative nonsense trips to the border that Americans have to pay for out of their tax dollars is a way to show anybody anything except that you don't care about wasting Americans' tax dollars. So, I too am eager to hear what Vice President Harris's border policy will, or immigration policy will be, although it's like so low on my list. Maybe I'm not really looking forward to it that much. What I will tell you is it will be infinitely superior to Donald Trump's policy, which is round up the vermin and put them in concentration camps, which seems neither practical nor, I don't know, human. Yeah, I know you guys don't care. The other thing is Kamala Harris has been vice president and allegedly, but not at all, border czar for what, 3.5 years? You're bringing this up now. Like, this was not a problem for you before. You, who beat the immigration drum incessantly. This is exactly what we lived through in 2016 when we had to deal with the Benghazi hearings. Remember how many of them there were? To find out what went wrong and why 4 Americans were killed in Benghazi at the American embassy. Now, that was not an unimportant thing to know. 4 Americans lost their lives. We should know. However, the purpose of those hearings wasn't to get at the bottom of anything. It was to blame it all on Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. She had to testify for 11 hours in front of a congressional, can't think of what the word is. Sorry. What's the word for that? Whatever. Okay. She had to sorry. No, I'm ready. She had to testify for 11 hours at a congressional hearing on Benghazi. Donald Trump couldn't even answer a congressional subpoena. So we now know that was all about dirtying Hillary Clinton up in advance of the election. The Republicans don't care about those 4 Americans who died in Benghazi. They just wanted to score political points, and it worked. And you know how we know they don't care that 4 Americans died? Because they don't care that over 1 million Americans died from COVID when their guy was in charge. So spare me the pearl clutching, James Comer, and I hope you lose. That's Peter Navarro. You may remember he was in prison recently for failing to comply with a congressional subpoena. I think he served 4 months after many, many, many months and many, many, many millions of dollars trying to get out of it. The day he got out of prison, guess what he did? Yes, he showed up at the Republican National Convention, which was a hotbed of criminals and former felons who had served their time. The only, actually, perhaps the only criminal who hadn't served time yet was Donald Trump. Anyway, Navarro is now a free man. And there is something, I don't know, poetic about what he's doing in that picture. He's guest hosting a podcast. You'll never guess whose podcast. Yes, that would be Steve Bannon's podcast. Why is Peter Navarro guest hosting for Steve Bannon? Because Steve Bannon is in prison. Ladies and gentlemen, today's Republican Party. Brought to you by Donald Trump and a bunch of other criminals. Thank you so much for joining me today. And another reminder, if you haven't already, please click on the subscribe button. It really helps us. It helps us build the channel. It helps us spread the word. And we appreciate we appreciate it so much that you all are supporting us. Also, if you could like the episode and share it with anybody you think would find the channel useful, helpful, entertaining, funny, comforting, whatever, that would also be very much appreciated. So thanks again for being here, and I will see you next time.